Hello everyone, Weather Jamaica here. Welcome to this updated video on the weather across Jamaica and the rest of the Caribbean. It is Tuesday evening, December 26, 2023. Now before we jump into it, please ensure that you guys like the video, share it, subscribe and tap notification bell so that you'll be notified every time I post a brand new video. Feel free to leave a comment down in the comment section letting me know what the weather has been like in your area recently. Also feel free to ask any weather related question that you might have about the future of the weather in your specific area. Alright, so let us take a look at the surface map of the Atlantic for this evening. We can still see that the entire Atlantic basin is being dominated by ridges of high pressure that are sending all of those easterly trade winds across the main development region into the Caribbean. We can see that we have numerous troughs represented by these broken orange lines across sections of the open waters of the Atlantic. One here across the southern main development region, another one to the north of the main development region, and another one to the north of the Leeward Islands. We can also see that we have a cold front that's affecting portions of the Bahamas, Florida, and the western tip of Cuba, and it has induced a trough into portions of the western Caribbean and Central America. If we take a look at the visible satellite images of the Atlantic before the sun went down, we can see the clouds that represent these numerous troughs, the one to the north of the Leeward Islands, the one to the north of the main development region, and the one in the southern main development region. We can also see the clouds associated with that cold front that's plaguing sections of the eastern United States, Florida, sections of the Bahamas, and we can see that it stretches down into portions of the western Caribbean as well. If we take a look at what was predicted in yesterday's video about the weather across Jamaica for today, it was stated that we would have had some afternoon rainfall across sections of some eastern, central, and western parishes in Jamaica. And for your information, eastern parishes, we're talking about those parishes in the county of Surrey. So Portland, St. Thomas, Kingston, St. Andrew. Central parishes, we're talking about those parishes in the county of Middlesex. So St. Anne, St. Mary, St. Catherine, Clarendon, Manchester. Western parishes, we're talking about those parishes in the county of Cornwall. So St. Elizabeth, Westmoreland, Hanover, St. James, and Trelawney. And what ended up happening? A post was made on our Twitter page. Keep in mind that these posts aren't only made on our Twitter page, but our Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok page. So if you have one of those social media platforms, please ensure that you follow us there as we make some other posts that you cannot afford to miss that we don't make here on our YouTube page. So at 3:16 p.m., the visible satellite image was posted highlighting clouds bringing overcast skies and isolated showers to sections of some eastern, central, and western parishes in Jamaica. So we indeed had that overcast skies and rainfall across sections of Westmoreland, St. Elizabeth, Manchester, sections of Trelawney, southern St. Anne, northern Clarendon, St. Catherine, sections of St. Andrew, and even sections of St. Thomas got in on some amount of isolated shower activity today. And we even have some of our followers confirming the rainfall in their area. Wilson stating heavy clouds, sporadic rain, nice and cool here in the hills of my beautiful parish of Manchester. Even on our Facebook page, we had Della Jones stating getting rain in White House, Westmoreland after some hot sun. Brian Stevenson, wet outside, it was raining. And even on our Instagram page, we have comments coming in. Love is a beautiful thing, underscore 22, stating raining in Red Hills. Then Roxy J76 stating got some heavy rain earlier in the Trelawney. So that indeed confirms the rainfall that we got across Jamaica for today. So section of eastern, central, and western parishes. Definitely a section of northern St. Thomas, section of St. Andrew, southern St. Anne, Trelawney, section of Clarendon, St. Catherine, Manchester, St. Elizabeth got in on some amount of rainfall. And not only that, but we indeed had some amount of slight thunderstorm activity. We saw those high cold cloud tops represented by those blues and greens being blown off towards the southeast. And we did mention in yesterday's video that that would favor more of that rainfall across southern parishes, and that was exactly what took place. We even saw some sparkling white dots in the across sections of Manchester, maybe an isolated thunderstorm or two, because we know the sparkling white dots represent lightning flashes, if not lightning strikes. And if we take a look at the latest Cuban Doppler radar images, we have to depend on the Cuban radar site for what's happening in terms of the actual rainfall. We know Doppler radar images show rainfall as opposed to satellite images that show cloud cover. and we can have cloud cover over an area and not necessarily rainfall. So yes, right now we still see a lot of grays that indicate cloud cover across sections of some central and western parishes in Jamaica. But is there rainfall? Yes, there is. The Cube and Doppler radar images are showing some amount of greens or yellows that represent rainfall. It could be ground clutter, it could be a glitch, but considering that we see some grays that represent cloud cover over the central portion of the island, we can't rule out some amount of lingering showers still taking place across sections of Clarendon, Manchester, or even sections of St. Elizabeth right now. Taking a look at the temperatures right now, we can see we have 26 degrees Celsius in Montego Bay, 26 degrees Celsius in Kingston, rather, 28 degrees Celsius in Montego Bay. And by about 4 a.m. on Wednesday, the temperature should dip down to about 23 degrees Celsius in Montego Bay, 22 degrees Celsius in Kingston. Taking a look at the temperature forecast for tomorrow, this map from the GFS is showing 18th on Wednesday. When we calculate that, that's 1 p.m. on Wednesday. And what do we see Jamaica embedded in? Some amount of yellows and oranges. And we can see that by the key on the right, the yellows and oranges are representative of 1 to 2 degrees Celsius above normal temperatures. And we know the normal temperatures for the month of December are about the same as 87 degrees Fahrenheit. And when we take a look at the thermometer, 87 degrees Fahrenheit is about the same as 30 degrees Celsius. So considering that we're going to be receiving 1 to 2 degrees Celsius above normal temperatures across Jamaica for Wednesday, the temperature should be anywhere from 30 to 32 degrees Celsius at most. As it relates to the dry air map, we can see that the dry air is represented by this key at the bottom, yellows, oranges, reds, and whites within those reds. And we can see that majority of the Caribbean should be getting the low end of the scale in terms of dry air. And the air around Jamaica seems to be getting more in the way of some blues that represent moist air. This was a very much responsible for what we had across the Jamaica area today with all of the cloud cover and rainfall that we had. The air is very moist. As it relates to the Saharan dust forecast for 2 p.m. on Wednesday, we can see that we still have all the browns that represent the Saharan dust across the main development region and Africa, not to mention across the southern windward islands as well as the southern Caribbean, stretching all the way from Costa Rica into Panama, Colombia, Venezuela, the ABC Islands, sections of more so St. Vincent and the Grenadines, Grenada, St. Lucia, Martinique. But these are some lighter shades of brown. This is on the low end of the scale in terms of Saharan dust. What we don't want to see is those darker shades of browns that indicate that vigorous plume that would cause the hazy skies and trigger some amount of respiratory illnesses in some people, whether it be asthma or sinusitis. So, as we can see, 2 p.m. on Wednesday has Jamaica in the clear. Jamaica is right there, right behind or under the word port, as in Port-au-Prince, Haiti. Taking a look at the wave forecast for tomorrow, we can see that the waves are represented by the key on the bottom right. The lighter shades of blues represent up to 0.5 for meter wave heights. The darker shades of blues represent 1 to 1.5 meter wave heights. And even into the purples and the burgundies represent 2 meter wave heights to up to 4 to 6 meter wave heights. And what do we see surrounding the island of Jamaica for tomorrow according to both the Euro and the GFS? More so lighter shades of blues that represent up to 0.5 for meter wave heights. And that's because the winds are not going to be that strong at all. We can see the winds, if you can look closely, coming in from the east, and we see more in the way of blues than anything else. So anywhere from 5 to 10 knots is what we're going to be experiencing across the island for tomorrow. And we know the lack of winds usually make the temperatures feel a bit hotter than normal. And the temperature forecast, as we saw on the GFS, up to 30 to 32 degrees Celsius at most. As relates to the wind shear map, we can see the upper level wind seem to be coming more so from the west. So it's not going to be favoring the south coast again like what we saw today in terms of the afternoon convection. We saw those high cold cloud tops being blown off to the southeast, bringing more so of that rainfall across sections of some southern parishes. With the upper level winds forecast tomorrow to be coming from the west, it could favor more of that rainfall across inland areas of some southern parishes, inland areas of some northern parishes, And as it relates to the rainfall forecast, yes, we see some spots of blues that represent rainfall across sections of some eastern, central, and western parishes in Jamaica. But we can see that it is not as robust as what we saw yesterday. So maybe sections of northwestern St. Thomas, eastern St. Andrew, inland areas of Portland, inland areas of St. Andrew, St. Catherine, St. Anne, Manchester, St. Elizabeth. We can't rule out an isolated shower or two across those parishes as usual. Either way, both accumulated precipitation forecasts from the Euro and the GFS models are showing rainfall in store for a section of the island for tomorrow, even although it's on the low end of the scale in terms of the rainfall totals, up to 0.17 of an inch of rainfall being forecasted by the GFS, up to zero point 0.2 of an inch of rainfall being forecasted by the Euro. Either way, the rainfall is in the forecast. It might not be that much, and we know that it's showing the next 24 hours. So we'll take all the rainfall that we can get, considering that we're in the first month of our dry season. We're in December. We'll take all the rainfall that we can get before we head into the peak months of the dry season, February, March, and April. Alright, so that's it for the forecast across Jamaica. Let us focus our attention on the rest of the Caribbean. So we can see all the clouds associated with that cold front still affecting portions of the eastern United States, the Gulf of Mexico. We can see a lot of clouds bring thunderstorm activity across sections of Colombia, Venezuela as usual, sections of French Guyana. Don't see much taking place across the Windward Islands, but we do see some spots of rainfall to the north of Barbados, maybe sections of St. Lucia, Martinique, getting in on some of that. And if we take a look at the Doppler radar images of the northeastern Caribbean, we can see that we do have some isolated heat or mist showers as represented by those greens that represent light to moderate rainfall. Not much in the way of rainfall, just scattered here or there. That's why they're called heat or mist showers. But we do see that rain band that we saw in the satellite images just now to the north of Barbados. Some of that looks like it's moving towards the south and the east towards Barbados right now as we speak. We can also see that rainfall trailing into sections of St. Vincent, sections of St. Lucia, maybe Martinique, especially to the east of Martinique as we speak. As relates to the wider view of Doppler radar images, we don't see much happening across the basin at all. Just some isolated pockets of showers to the north of the ABC Islands, not to mention Colombia and French Guyana. As it relates to the temperature forecast for tomorrow, we do see more in the way of grays that represent average temperatures or normal temperatures across the Leeward Islands for the most part for 18Z on Wednesday, which is actually 1 p.m. on Wednesday. But we do see more in the way of above normal temperatures anywhere from the eastern United States all the way down into portions of Florida, the Bahamas, Turks and Caicos, the Cayman Islands, Jamaica, Cuba, majority of Central America, majority of Northern South America, as well as sections of the Windward Islands. As it relates to the Saharan dust forecast for 2 p.m. on Wednesday, we do see that majority of the Northern Caribbean should be in the clear as represented by the blues. The browns are more so associated with the low end of the scale in terms of Saharan dust, and that's going to be affecting sections of Barbados, Martinique, St. Lucia, St. Vincent, and the Grenadines, maybe Trinidad and Tobago, the ABC Islands, Venezuela, Colombia, Panama, and Costa Rica. But it's on the low end of the scale, so it's not that vigorous. What we don't want to see is that darker shade of brown that indicate that vigorous plume of dust that could cause hazy skies and trigger respiratory illnesses in people. We do see those darker shades of brown more so across the May-Devon region. As it relates to the wave forecast, we can see more in the way of zero point 0.5 for meter wave heights or up to 1 meter wave heights as represented by those lighter shades of blues and those darker shades of blues as we can see by the key on the bottom plaguing majority of the Caribbean, and that's because the winds are not going to be that strong at all. We see more in the way of blues and some slight greens that represent anywhere from 0 knots up to 5 to 10 knot winds, maybe some 15 knot winds in there, as represented by the greens to the far south of Jamaica to the north of Colombia. And we can see that for the most part, the winds are going to be coming in from the east. However, as it relates to the rainfall forecast, we do see that both the Euro and the GFS are in consensus that there's going to be some amount of rainfall in store for sections of the Yucatan Peninsula, sections of the waters of the Gulf of Mexico, the Bahamas. You can see some isolated pockets of showers across sections of central Cuba, sections of maybe Puerto Rico with those lighter shades of greens. And we can also see that rainfall that we just saw on the Doppler radar images across sections of Martinique, St. Lucia, sections of St. Vincent and the Grenadines, maybe spilling into sections of Dominica, Barbados. We can also see that majority of Grenada and Trinidad and Tobago should be in the clear for the next 24 hours. But where do we see the rainfall across Northern and South America? We see it across mainly sections of Suriname, French Guyana, southern Venezuela, Colombia, Panama, Costa Rica, with all of those yellows, oranges, and reds that represent up to an inch of rainfall. Maybe sections of eastern Nicaragua getting in on the action, and maybe some isolated pockets of rainfall as represented by those lighter shades of greens across sections of Honduras and Belize, not to mention sections of the Cayman Islands. And we know that when both maps from the Euro and the GFS are in consensus like this, the chances of it actually happening are much higher. Alright, so that's it for today. Thanks for watching.